Prepare for an objective journey into the heart of the legal process. The footage you are about to see remains completely unfiltered and unedited. It is a raw, first-hand account from the front lines of justice, delivered with utmost professionalism and integrity.
Stand up, now! I need identification and proof that uniform is yours.
Officer, I am Senior Chief Petty Officer Nathaniel Garrison, United States Navy. What crime am I suspected of?
Don't argue with me. Anyone can buy that costume. Hands visible. Get up.
My military ID.
Officer Dustin Hargrove thought he was protecting a school. Anonymous tip. Suspicious black male in military clothing near Ridgemont High School. Possibly armed. Possibly impersonating military personnel. In his mind, responding aggressively was standard protocol. He had profiled dozens of people based on nothing more than how they looked. Never questioned, never challenged. But when he rolled up to a graduation ceremony with over 2,000 people in attendance, local news cameras filming, and the school district's own live stream broadcasting to hundreds of families watching from home, and targeted the only black man in a military uniform, he made a catastrophic miscalculation. The man he targeted was a decorated Navy SEAL with 24 years of active service. And when Hargrove destroyed the proudest moment of that man's life in front of his daughter, his elderly mother, and an entire community, he set in motion a chain of events that would end in 18 years of federal prison. Hargrove had been with the Ridgemont Police Department for 16 years. Beneath his reputation for proactive policing lay 11 civilian complaints over 9 years, each alleging racial profiling. Every complaint dismissed. The call came in at 1:47 p.m. on a Saturday in late May. Anonymous caller, suspicious black man in military clothing, possibly armed. No name, no specifics, no evidence. Hargrove didn't verify anything. He assembled 3 officers, Sergeant Lloyd Tatum, Officer Breanne Kendrick, and Officer Sam Novak. All 4 activated body cameras at 2:03 p.m. What Hargrove didn't know was that 2 district live stream cameras, a Channel 4 news crew, and dozens of parent phones were already recording. Every angle covered, every sound captured. Senior Chief Petty Officer Nathaniel Nate Garrison sat in the front row, and for the first time in longer than he could remember, he felt completely at peace. He was 44 years old. 24 years of active service with the United States Navy, Navy SEAL, 3 Bronze Stars, 2 Purple Hearts, multiple classified deployments to places whose names would never appear in any newspaper. He had been shot at in 6 countries, carried wounded teammates through hostile territory, made decisions under fire that most people couldn't comprehend. And none of it compared to the pride swelling in his chest as he watched his daughter approach that podium. He wore his Navy dress white uniform, pressed to perfection. His medals were pinned in precise regulation order across his left chest, catching the afternoon sunlight. His SEAL trident, the gold insignia that only the most elite warriors in the American military earn the right to wear, gleamed above the ribbons. His name stitched in black letters, Garrison. He put them on today because his daughter asked him to. "Daddy, wear your uniform. I want everyone to see how proud I am of you." So he did. Beside him sat his mother, Barbara Garrison, 71, a retired school teacher, wearing a lavender dress and a corsage Amara had pinned to her chest that morning. On his other side, his son Elijah, 14, a hand-drawn sign on his lap reading, "That's my sister," in red and blue marker. Amara Garrison, 18 years old, valedictorian, 4.3 gigapascals, accepted to 3 Ivy League schools. She had dedicated her entire speech to her father, the man who missed birthdays in war zones so other families could be safe. She practiced it 40 times. She knew every word. And when she reached the podium, she found him in the front row in his gleaming whites and smiled. This was the day he promised he'd never miss. Amara leaned into the microphone, her voice steady, carrying across the field through the PA system. The first words of her valedictorian speech were about her father. "There's a man in the front row wearing a white uniform covered in medals he never talks about. He missed my 7th birthday because he was in a country I'm still not allowed to know the name of. He missed my 10th because he was recovering from wounds he never showed me. but he never missed telling me he loved me. Not once. She looked directly at Nate. He looked back, his eyes filling, his jaw tight with emotion. Barbara gripped his arm. Elijah held up his sign. The crowd was silent, emotional, 2,000 people hanging on every word. The live stream cameras captured the moment in wide angle. The Channel 4 crew zoomed in on Amara's face. Parents held phones steady, recording. And then, from the back of the graduation field, 4 officers appeared. Hargrove led, walking with purpose, his body camera recording his view of the rows ahead. Tatum, Kendrick, and Novak flanked behind him, their cameras adding 3 more angles. They walked directly down the center aisle, past hundreds of white families seated in folding chairs, past grandparents and toddlers and proud parents, straight toward the front row, straight toward the only black man in a military uniform. Hargrove stepped in front of Nate, blocking his view of the stage. His body camera recorded Nate's face, looking up. The live stream captured the officers from behind, 4 dark uniforms standing over a man in white. The news camera caught it in profile. Dozens of phones swiveled, and at the podium, mid-sentence, Amara stuttered. Her voice caught. The microphone carried her silence to every corner of the field. "Stand up," Hargrove said, his voice loud enough for the surrounding rows to hear. His body camera recorded Nate's face from above, calm, controlled, the face of a man trained to remain composed under conditions that would break most people. "I need identification and proof that this uniform belongs to you." The accusation hung in the air. Impersonating military personnel, a federal crime under the Stolen Valor Act. The implication captured on 4 body cameras, 2 live stream feeds, the news camera, and every phone pointed in their direction. Nate didn't stand. He spoke quietly, his voice measured, aware that his daughter was watching from the stage. His mother was trembling beside him, and 2,000 people were staring. "Officer, my name is Senior Chief Petty Officer Nathaniel Garrison, United States Navy." He gestured to his chest, his medals, his trident. "This is my uniform. My name is stitched right here. My military ID is in my jacket pocket. What crime am I suspected of committing?" Hargrove's camera recorded his own dismissive gesture, waving away the medals, the trident, the name tape. 24 years of service dismissed with a flick of his wrist. Anyone can buy that stuff online. I need real identification. Now. Nate's jaw tightened. The movement captured on Kendrick's camera from the side. "You haven't told me what crime I'm suspected of. Under the 4th Amendment, you need reasonable suspicion to—" "I'm not going to ask again," Hargrove interrupted. The threat was unmistakable. And then, through the PA system, carried across the entire field and picked up by every recording device present, Amara's voice cracked. "Dad?" 2,000 people heard it. The live stream broadcast it to hundreds of homes. Nate looked at his daughter, his eyes glistening. He mouthed the words, "Keep going, baby. I'm okay." He was not okay. "Step out of the row. Now." Hargrove's body camera recorded his own hand gesturing toward the aisle. Nate looked at his mother, looked at his son, then stood slowly, his dress whites rising above the seated crowd like a beacon. He squeezed past families in folding chairs, excusing himself quietly, his composure holding even as officers flanked him on both sides, hands resting on their weapons. Tatum's camera captured the families shrinking back as the officers passed. Kendrick's camera recorded their faces, confusion, fear, anger. Barbara grabbed Nate's arm as he stepped into the aisle, her fingers gripping his sleeve, tears streaming down her face. "Please, he didn't do anything. Please, stop this." Novak reached down and pushed her hand away, the gesture captured on his own body camera and on at least 4 phones from surrounding rows. A 71-year-old woman's hand brushed off her son's arm like she was an obstruction. Elijah shot to his feet, his sign crumpling in his fist, his face contorted with rage. The boy stepped toward Novak and Nate turned. His voice was calm, absolute, the voice of a man who had commanded operators in combat. "Sit down, son. Take care of your grandmother." Elijah stopped. His chest heaving, he sat. The school principal, Dr. Diane Ashford, rushed from the side of the stage, her heels sinking into the grass. "Officers, this man is an invited guest. He's a parent. He's a decorated military veteran. Please, you need to stop this." Hargrove ignored her. He positioned Nate on the open grass beside the ceremony, in full view of the stage, the crowd, and every camera. Then he patted him down, his hands running over the dress whites, pressing against the metal ribbons, displacing the bronze stars, pushing the trident crooked. Amara stood frozen at the podium, tears streaming down her face, watching her father being frisked at her graduation. The live stream carried every second to hundreds of homes. Hargrove reached into Nate's jacket pocket and pulled out a military identification card. Department of Defense, photo, name, rank, Senior Chief Petty Officer, United States Navy. He stared at it. His body camera recorded his own hands holding the card, the photo matching the man standing in front of him, the name matching the letters stitched on the uniform. Kendrick's camera captured Hargrove's expression, the flicker of doubt, the moment where a reasonable officer would have stopped, apologized, and walked away. Hargrove was not a reasonable officer. "This could be forged," he said. "We're taking you in for identity verification." Nate's voice was steady, but the tremor beneath it was captured on every microphone present. A man trained in SEER, survival, evasion, resistance, and escape, using every ounce of that discipline to keep himself from breaking. "Officer, you're holding my Department of Defense identification. My name is on my uniform. My medals are verified. You have no probable cause. This is an unlawful arrest under the Fourth Amendment, and I am telling you clearly, for the record, that I do not consent." Hargrove pulled out his handcuffs. The metallic click echoed across the silent field, picked up by body cameras, the live stream, the news crew, and dozens of phones. He grabbed Nate's wrists and cuffed them behind his back. The metal bit into his skin. The crowd saw a decorated Navy SEAL in dress whites, hands bound behind him, standing on the grass of his daughter's graduation. And then, through the PA system, broadcast across the entire field and into hundreds of living rooms, Amara screamed, "Daddy!" The sound tore through the ceremony. Students burst into tears. Parents surged to their feet, shouting. Barbara collapsed against Elijah, sobbing. Nate was walked across the entire graduation field in handcuffs, his white uniform blazing in the afternoon sun, his medals catching light with every step. The longest walk of his life, recorded from at least 9 different angles. Amara's knees buckled. The live stream cameras captured her hands gripping the podium, her fingers white, her body folding as 2 teachers rushed from the side of the stage to catch her. She was hyperventilating, her chest heaving in rapid, shallow gasps, her face contorted in a way that no 18-year-old should ever have to experience at her own graduation. The microphone was still live. The PA system carried the sound of her sobbing across the entire field, into every phone recording, into every live stream feed, into hundreds of living rooms where families sat watching in horror. Her valedictorian speech, months of preparation, 40 rehearsals, a love letter to the father who sacrificed everything, was never finished. The ceremony collapsed. Students in caps and gowns were crying in their seats. Parents were on their feet, some screaming at the officers retreating across the parking lot, others with phones pressed to their ears calling news stations, demanding answers. In the front row, Barbara Garrison was having a panic episode, her breathing ragged, her hands shaking uncontrollably, her lavender dress darkened with tears. Elijah held her, 14 years old, his arms wrapped around his grandmother, his face a mask of rage and helplessness that no child should ever have to wear. "Doctor." Ashford stood at the edge of the field, her phone pressed to her ear, shouting at the Ridgemont police chief. "You just arrested a Navy SEAL in front of 2,000 people at a graduation ceremony." His daughter collapsed on stage. "Do you understand what your officers have done?" But the damage was already beyond the field. The live stream footage had been screen recorded by hundreds of viewers the moment the handcuffs appeared. Uploads hit social media before Nate reached the patrol car. Within 90 minutes, 400,000 views. By nightfall, 6 million. The video had a title that wrote itself, and it was everywhere. At the Ridgemont precinct, Nate was booked for suspected identity fraud and failure to comply with a lawful order. Hargrove's body camera recorded the intake process, his perspective showing the booking desk, the fluorescent lights, the computer monitor. The booking officer, a man named Sergeant Victor Padilla, looked at the charges on the screen, then looked at Nate standing in handcuffs in his dress whites. His gaze moved to the seal trident on Nate's chest. Padilla was a Marine veteran, 12 years, 2 deployments to Fallujah. He recognized the trident immediately. Every service member would. His body camera captured his expression changing from routine processing to disbelief. "You arrested a SEAL?" he said, his voice quiet. "At his kid's graduation?" Hargrove's camera recorded his own defensive posture, arms crossed, jaw tight. He was non-cooperative, refused to provide adequate identification. Padilla ran Nate's information. His body camera captured the screen as results populated. Active duty, Senior Chief Petty Officer, 24 years of service, top secret security clearance, 3 Bronze Stars, 2 Purple Hearts, Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal. Every single thing Nate had told Hargrove in that field confirmed in under 3 minutes. "He's exactly who he said he was," Padilla said flatly. His camera captured him turning to face Hargrove. Every word of it. Hargrove doubled down. He was non-cooperative and created a public disturbance. Padilla's camera recorded the long silence that followed. The body camera footage from the field showed the opposite. Nate never raised his voice, never resisted, never made a single aggressive movement. The only disturbance was created by 4 officers who interrupted a graduation ceremony to arrest an innocent man. Nate was held for 4 hours. During that time, 17 miles away, Amara Garrison was admitted to the emergency room for a severe anxiety attack. Nate didn't know until he was released. No one told him. The story didn't break. It detonated. By Sunday morning, the live stream footage had been downloaded, clipped, and reposted across every major platform. 9+ angles of an American hero in dress whites being handcuffed at his daughter's graduation. Body camera footage obtained through public records requests within days. The Channel 4 segment aired nationally. Phone videos from parents filled timelines with shaking, furious commentary. It became the most documented racial profiling incident in modern history. Veterans organizations responded with fury. The Navy released a formal statement confirming Nate's service record and honoring his 24 years of distinguished duty. 3 sitting Congress members demanded a federal investigation. The NAACP issued a public condemnation. The ACLU offered immediate legal support. Military advocacy organizations lined up behind the Garrison family. Retired SEALs posted videos of their own tridents, captioning them with 3 words, "We know our own." The Ridgemont Police Department issued a carefully worded statement expressing confidence in their officers' judgment. It lasted 12 hours before being deleted. Investigators traced the anonymous call. It came from a woman named Judith Langford, a parent at the graduation seated 6 rows behind the Garrison family. When questioned, she told investigators she just felt uncomfortable seeing a black man in a military uniform. She said it didn't look right. She assumed no black man would actually be a Navy SEAL, so the uniform had to be fake. She made the call during the opening remarks, before Amara even reached the podium. She watched from her seat as officers arrested Nate. She never spoke up, never told them she had no evidence, never intervened as a father was dragged from his daughter's graduation based on her discomfort. She was never charged. Her phone call wasn't illegal, just racist, and it had destroyed a family's most important day. Attorney Vivian Okafor Price had spent 22 years fighting cases that other lawyers considered unwinnable. Former JAG officer, military law, civil rights litigation. She had argued before federal courts, deposed generals, and dismantled qualified immunity defenses that most attorneys wouldn't touch. When she watched the body camera footage for the first time, all 4 angles synchronized on her office monitors, she called Nate within the hour. She filed a federal civil rights lawsuit in the United States District Court. Nathaniel Garrison versus City of Ridgemont, Officer Dustin Hargrove, Sergeant Lloyd Tatum, Officer Breanne Kendrick, and Officer Sam Novak. The complaint alleged violations of the 4th and 14th Amendments, false arrest, unlawful seizure, racial profiling, retaliation for exercising constitutional rights, assault against Barbara Garrison, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and deprivation of rights under color of law. But Okafor Price wasn't satisfied with a civil case. She pushed for criminal prosecution. The U.S. Attorney's Office reviewed the body camera footage alongside the live stream recordings, the news footage, and the phone videos. They saw what everyone saw: an officer targeting a man based on race, dismissing valid credentials, humiliating him publicly, arresting him without probable cause. Discovery cracked the department open. Hargrove's 11 prior complaints were entered into evidence. Internal Affairs files showed each one dismissed with identical language, insufficient evidence to sustain. Internal emails between supervisors contained references to maintaining neighborhood character and managing community concerns about unfamiliar elements. Federal prosecutors filed criminal charges against Hargrove. Deprivation of rights under color of law, 18 U.S.C. Section 242, conspiracy to deprive civil rights, 18 U.S.C. Section 241, false arrest, assault for the physical contact with Barbara Garrison. Tatum, Kendrick, and Novak were named as co-conspirators. The trial lasted 5 weeks. The trial was devastating. The courtroom was packed every single day. Civil rights advocates, veterans in uniform, members of the Ridgemont community, and national media who recognized this as a defining case about racial profiling in America. On the third day, prosecutors played the footage. All 9 angles synchronized on screens positioned around the courtroom: body cameras, the school live stream, the Channel 4 news feed, phone recordings from parents. The jury watched Hargrove walk past hundreds of white families and stop directly in front of the only black man in a military uniform. They watched him dismiss the medals, the trident, the name tape, the military ID. They watched him pat down the dress whites, pushing the bronze stars crooked. They watched Nate walk across the graduation field in handcuffs, his white uniform blazing in the sun, and they heard Amara's scream, "Daddy." Played through the courtroom speakers, the sound ripped through the room. 3 jurors broke down crying. Nate testified for 6 hours over 2 days. He described his service, his sacrifices, the promise he made to never miss his daughter's graduation. He described the discipline it took to remain calm while being humiliated in front of his family and his community. Amara testified. She described the nightmares, the panic attacks, the fact that she couldn't watch her own graduation video, that she never finished her speech, that the day she'd planned for years was destroyed in 17 minutes. Barbara testified about an officer pushing her hand off her own son's arm. Former SEALs testified about what the trident means, what it costs, what Nate sacrificed to earn it. Hargrove's qualified immunity defense was dismantled. He was told by the principal, by Nate, by the visible evidence of a legitimate uniform. He arrested anyway, guilty on all counts. 18 years, federal prison. The civil lawsuit settled during the damages phase, $22.4 million, the largest individual racial profiling settlement in United States history. Hargrove was taken into custody from the courtroom. Tatum and Kendrick each received 4-year federal sentences as co-conspirators. Novak, who had attempted to intervene during the arrest and been overruled by Hargrove, testified for the prosecution and received a suspended sentence. The Ridgemont Police Department was placed under a federal consent decree, mandatory reforms, civilian oversight board with independent investigation authority, quarterly bias training with documented testing, body camera compliance protocols with severe penalties for non-compliance, demographic data collection on all stops and arrests with public reporting, an independent monitor appointed by the Department of Justice to review all complaints of racial profiling for a minimum of 5 years. Nate used a portion of his settlement to establish the Garrison Shield Foundation, providing free legal defense for veterans and active duty service members subjected to racial profiling and civil rights violations. He spoke at military installations across the country, sharing his story with service members who had experienced the same thing but never had the evidence to prove it. Amara eventually delivered her speech, not at graduation, not at Ridgemont High School. She delivered it before a congressional committee on racial profiling in law enforcement, reading the full text for the first time, her voice steady, broadcast live on C-SPAN to millions. She finished the words she never got to say. Then, she looked into the camera and added new ones. My father served this country for 24 years. He bled for it. He nearly died for it. And on the proudest day of his life, he was treated like a criminal because of the color of his skin. That has to mean something. It has to change something. She enrolled at Yale on a full scholarship. The case became required study material at Quantico, at police academies nationwide, and at the Naval Academy. Because a man who spent 24 years protecting his country shouldn't need protection from its police. But when he did, the truth was captured from 9 different angles, and justice, for once, was undeniable. If you believe that every American who serves deserves to be honored, not humiliated, that racial profiling has no place in law enforcement, and that the truth recorded on body cameras and live streams and phone videos can hold power accountable. This case was intense, but this case on the right-hand side is even more insane.
In our unwavering pursuit of the truth, accountability is our highest priority. We challenge those in power by presenting undeniable facts, because the records never lie. Thank you for watching and trusting our investigations.